empathy in design, at least, from my standpoint, is not just understanding a problem and then leading it to a solution. I mean, let's establish the fact that we build not products but solutions, right? And to build a solution, you have to obviously know the problem statement to build that solution.
Exactly, as much as you can.
Yeah, but I think where we as designers lack is sometimes we just look at a problem statement quite objectively. We don't look at the underlying issues, problems,
Or the objectives.
Like
indirect objectives.
Exactly, the indirect objectives that are that lie therein. And that is where I think empathy comes into play, where you try and understand, more than understand, you try to live in the shoes of your user, right? And try and really dig deep into why they need the solution you're building, And that helps you create that narrative within the product, which can lead to a viable solution.
It's exactly like actors, right? I mean, the Dark Knight, right?
Yes.
The Joker went into that whole
absolutely,
staying in a hotel alone and all because he wanted to be empathetic about the role.
Exactly.
As much as he could do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's our job in a way as designers also. As much as we could know the users. But right now, I think, we still are on the surface of it. Right? We still kind of try to understand the user, try to talk about the problems they face. But do you think we go deep enough or we go too deep?
In some products, you will need to go in very deep,
Absolutely.
Right? For example, the app that we built for parents and children, right? Over there, child development is like the paramount thing a parent wants, right? So how deep can you go there, right? No matter how deep you dig, you will never find that objectivity or the issues a parent faces. Even if you try and put yourself in those shoes, you will never, if you don't have a child, you will not know. And I think that's where empathy really kicks in, is that how emotional do you want your solution to be?
I mean, why not as much emotional as it can be?
I mean,
where is the harm, right?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, the best scenario would be if you're building, and you would see, like, if you pick up the more successful products in history, those were made by people for themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because they understood their problems so deep they could solve it better. Right?
Yeah.
Take Facebook or take Wordle, you showed me a bee.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So things like these were made for themselves, and which is why it picks up so well.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. I mean, so when you talk about empathy, right? I mean, you're building a product. You're not just building it for the end users.
Yeah.
Right? There is a business objective to it. There is a technical capability related to it. And these are all your stakeholders who you should be empathetic towards, right? So how do you go about it? Because in design schools or design books, whatever we have been taught is to understand the users and empathize with them, right?
Yeah.
Who will empathize with these business people and the developers?
Yeah, that's a great point, right? And I think this comes up a lot, that every step of the way we try and build that empathy, I think it starts with the stakeholders. Exactly, it should. Because only if you understand the people who are building that solution, and I'm not going to call it a product, at the end of the day, it is a solution, what you're building, right? If you do not look at it from their perspective, their KPIs are tied into this, right? Their bonuses are tied into this. There are families dependent on paychecks that comes through this solution. You have to think about those things. So if a person is telling you that you're building it wrong, you have to be empathetic and understand why they're saying that, right?
Yeah.
And then going on from the discovery, we go into the user research side of things, right? And what we tend to do there is, again, look at people as just objectively as numbers or, like user groups. But it's, like that's boiling it down to such a basic thing that, oh, you are a type A persona, you are a type B persona. It doesn't work that way.
I think this is one of the most difficult phase of a product design life cycle, right? I mean, what we have changed in the last 6 months, right? You empathize with users, business people, developers. it's still easy to empathize with users and build a solution for them.
Sure.
But imagine now when you have constraints from business and development.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's a designer's skill in a way to be able to kind of satisfy or build something which appeals to all three of or all four of these stakeholders. Right now, in this whole design thinking concept and the way we have been doing design, it's mostly empathy is mostly related to the problem, right?
Yeah.
When you're figuring out the problem, getting deeper into it, you empathize. That's the step defined in design thinking, right? It does not emphasize on what is the effect of doing that exercise on solution.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you build an empathetic product, you'll have a much better solution, like in a way a sustainable, a more ethical solution.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? I mean, as example of Wordle again, right? You cannot build an non-ethical product when you're building something for yourself.